Good morning, dear authors and invited guests. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to the 6th International Congress on Information and Communication Technology through Zoom on behalf of ICICT 2021 and Global Knowledge Research Foundation. As every one of us is passing through these unforeseen circumstances due to COVID, we wish everyone and their families a safe time, and we all hope to pass through this together soon. Further, with immense happiness, I would like to share that we have received an overwhelming response this year from over 90 countries, where over 1,000 papers were received and 350 papers were accepted, contributing to the success of this conference, and the papers will be published later this year. We are all thankful to our guests present on this platform to join us digitally for this conference in these unpredictable times, and we make this conference more fruitful in terms of technical knowledge, and I hope that you will enjoy the 2 days of the knowledge and interactive sessions. I'd like to welcome to the technical session number 4 and further introduce you to the chair of this session, Dr. Amal V. Domain. Dr. Amal received his PhD in computer engineering from the Savitribal Phulpun University in November 2018. Got a master's in engineering in Pune, November 2008, where he got first class. Got a bachelor's in computer engineering at Pune University in August 2004, where he received first class. He is currently pursuing a doctorate from Lincoln University, Malaysia, and he has published 14 international journals and 2 national journals. Dr. Amar, welcome to the session and welcome to being the chair.
Thank you, Governor.
Our first speaker will be Danang Eko Prastia, and his paper title is The Analysis of Website Quality and Cities Government Twitter Accounts in East Java Province, Indonesia. Danang, do you want to start?
Yes, I am. Can you hear my voice?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Can I share screen?
Yeah, you should be able to share screen.
Okay, thanks.
There we go.
Okay.
So it's a 12-minute talk, and then we get a 3-minute Q&A at the end.
Okay, yes, thank you.
That's all right. Start.
Okay, thank you, moderator. Good morning, everybody. Let me introduce myself. My name is Danang. I'm student at Department of Government Affairs and Administration, Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta, Indonesia. Today, I will present my paper with a title, Analysis of Website Quality and City Government Twitter Account in East Java Province, Indonesia. Case study, Surabaya, Malang, Mojokerto, Pasuruan, and Probolinggo. Today agenda, first introduction, second method, 3 result, and 4 conclusion. Introduction. A website existence may provide an opportunity for the public to find out of activity or government policy and increase the community interest and change in assessing public service. In supporting the development and implementation of e-government, the website can be used as a estuary of all the government will of information. Knowing the website performance is one way to monitor and identify deficiency and opportunity to improve quality and performance. Masuk research on 30 Indonesian local government websites showed that the average page speed was 59% or grade A. The quality of local websites based on the Google Generate Index was still deficient. Low website quality called a fake internet user interest is visiting government website. A popular website could be seen from statistics on the number of visitors to the site. Meanwhile, the website transparency and accountability also play an essential role in providing government performance information. Financial report and government performance, such as APBD data, performance accountability, are still minimally submitted on local government website. 47% of local government do not provide information on their website, economic and performance data. Developing a website might be done by standardizing the content of website minimum requirement. Therefore, in implementing e-government is necessary to assess local government website. And then method object research such as website Surabaya with Surabaya Go ID and Twitter @sapawarga SPY, and then Malang with Malang Kota Go ID and then Twitter @Pemkot Malang, and Mojokerto Go ID @Humas Kota, and then Pasuruan with website Pasuruan Kota Go ID and Twitter @Pemkot Pasuruan, and then Probolinggo Probolinggo Kota Go ID and then Twitter @Humas Kota Probolinggo. Website assessment with 5 indicator fitur, transparency, accountability, effectiveness, and efficiency. In calculating to comparative assessment, a specific score will be given by referring to the assessment score analysis. If there are data available, it will be given a score of 1. If data is not available, it will be given 0. Participant, you can see table score and value, accumulative score. I'm sorry, accumulative score 0 to 25%. A category is not quality, and then 26 until 50% is low quality, and then 51 until 75% is average quality, and 76% until 100% is high quality. Meanwhile, Twitter content was analyzing using the NVivo 12 Plus with the encapture feature to systematically document and analysis data. And then result, website quality on city government. The figure above explain that Surabaya city government website get the highest score with a percentage value of 85%. Simultaneously, the Pasuruan website has the lowest score with percentage value of 42.5%. The website of the cities of Surabaya and Malang are included in high quality website. Meanwhile, Mojokerto and Probolinggo have average quality website. Only Pasuruan has a website with a low quality category. The Mojokerto city government own the website feature with a high score with a percentage value of 35%. And Pasuruan achieved the low score of 22.5%. The Surabaya and Malang website transparency has the highest score with a value of 22.5%, while Pasuruan has the lowest score of 5%. Surabaya city has the highest accountability score with 7.5% and the lowest score of 2.5% obtained by Mojokerto and Pasuruan. Surabaya and Malang city government in website effectiveness and efficiency get high score with percentage value of 22.5%. Meanwhile, the effectiveness and efficiency of Pasuruan get the lowest score with 12.5%. In the fact official Twitter account of the city government in East Java province, only the cities of Surabaya and Malang have a blue tick or are verified by Twitter. Each city government Twitter provide information that is diverse and relate to the community. The result of the NVivo 12 Plus analysis using workload feature describe that issue that are informed to the public. Issues developed on Twitter can be seen in the following figure. Then the picture above explains that the Twitter of the city government of Surabaya, Malang, and Pasuruan has similarity in the issues that are communicated to the public. Issues surrounding the handling of COVID-19 were discussed on the Twitter. The municipal government of Surabaya, Malang, Pasuruan urged local community to obey health protocol. The public is invited to remain vigilant and remain optimistic in the face of pandemic. Meanwhile, the issue discussed on the Twitter of the Probolinggo and Mojokerto municipal government are more about the city government program for the community. Work programs such as infrastructure development, protecting the environment, and the municipal government agenda are informed through the municipal government Twitter. Issues are developing in the city government and also increasing Twitter activity. Surabaya city government in 2020 tweet 833 tweet with 146 tweet occurring in March. This increase occurred due to outbreak of COVID-19 case in Indonesia. And then the increase in Twitter activity also occurred in Malang city government regarding the COVID-19 issues in Indonesia. It was active within 1 year from November 2019 to October 2020, having 1,818 tweets. Most tweets occurred in March 2020 with 237. And then, meanwhile, the Pasuruan municipal government Twitter account has not been active in the last 2 years, since not tweet activity starting from May 2018 until March 2019. It was starting to be active and consistent tweet from January to September 2020. The highest number of tweets occurred in February 2020 with 81 tweets. In comparison, and the list of was only one tweet in November 2018 and 2019. There were 518 tweets, and there was a fluctuation in the Pasuruan city government Twitter activity. And then the Mojokerto city government dropped at Humas Kota from 2015 to 2020, also looked inactive from July 2017 to September 2019. Of 345 tweets, there were the highest tweet in April-June 2016 and the lowest tweet in July-September 2016. This condition shown that the Mojokerto municipal government Twitter activity is not active and consistent from 2015 and 2020. There is fluctuation in activity. And then Probolinggo, the Probolinggo city government Twitter activity dropped at Humas Kota Prop from 2017 to 2020 was seen be inactive from June 2017 to February 2019 and then continue from April 2019 to February 2020. Even though there was an increase in activity from January to March, there was decrease from April to May 2017. Of the total 90 tweets in 2017 until 2020, the highest tweet was in March 2020 and the lowest was in March 2020. This condition show that the Probolinggo city government Twitter activity was not active and consistent from 2015 until 2020. This is a fluctuation in action. Apart from being a medium of information for the public, Twitter is also used by the city government to communicate and coordinate with local institutions or agencies in supporting the performance of the city government. The interaction and communication of city government is providing service to the community can be seen from the following cluster analytic result. Cluster analysis. The Surabaya city government is active in interaction with the social service, the population and civil registration office, the education office, and the food and agriculture security service. Meanwhile, Malang city government interact and communicate more with agency related to transportation service, regional disaster management, local public work, and East Java provincial government. Unlike the Surabaya and Malang municipal government, the Pasuruan city government is more active in interacting with health service. The municipal government is more intense in interacting with the city Red Cross and At Your Heart. And the last slide, conclusion and limitation. The use of website in local government is an implementation of e-government that is implemented in Indonesia. As an information and communication medium, having a quality website is an essential point in achieving the success of e-government by local government. The city of government website is province of East Java, so that the municipal government of Surabaya and Malang have website with high quality categories. However, only the Pasuruan city government has a website that is low quality. Using the website, the city government has also used Twitter to interact and information with the public. The city government is active in providing information and work program and issues developing in the region. Therefore, Twitter can build communication pattern and coordination among government agencies in providing service community. And limitation, this research limitation is that it only examines of official city government website quality based only on 5 indicators, namely feature, transparency, accountability, effectiveness, and efficiency. Even though many other indicators can be used to measure city quality government website. Besides, the research was only conducted on 5 city government in East Java province, and in the future, it can be carried out in all cities in East Java province and Indonesia. On the other hand, the use of Twitter by the city government is only used medium of information and communication. Tweet from interaction with the community can be used to make a policy. I think enough presentation for me. I'm sorry if made a mistake. Thanks, moderator.
Thank you, Dhanan. First of all, I'd like to appreciate that your presentation was very good. The study you had done related to the 3 cities of Indonesia and the website related content that you have studied. You gathered, or rather the overall study you did with the help of 5 parameters, right? So as per your presentation, I come to know that you're judging the quality of the website based on the indicators like transparency, accountability, effectiveness, and efficiency. So only one question from my side: why you have chosen these parameters only, and what are the different parameters that we can include for enhancing? We can say that study of the quality of the websites. In spite of that, what other parameters we can include?
Because I choose 5 parameter in here, government make a regulation to policy to assessment website quality. Five indicator is breakdown to 40 unit analysis. Example of feature such as is available information about history, regional motto, regional symbol, location on map, vision and mission, and then such as information about transparency. Website must information about transparency of term development plans, transparency of term development plans lengths, and then accountability. Website must presenting the expenditure budget regional, presenting grant and social assistance fund report, timely presentation and statement. So this reason why I choose parameter for my research.
Okay, okay, very good, Danan. Hope that you will continue all your studies in the future also. All the best
Yes.
for your studies. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. Oh. Yeah. Share. Our next speaker is Niti Tri. Oh, sorry, Octaviani, and her paper title is "The Study of Official Government Website and Twitter Content in 4 Local Governments of Indonesia." Nita.
Might she not available?
Oh, okay. Then let's go on to our next
Yeah.
speaker. Sorry. Nurul Kamaluddin, and her paper title is "How Does the Local Government Provide Official Website and Twitter Quality? Case study of the 3 local governments of Indonesia." Nurul,
Again, she not present.
she's not present. Next speaker
Photo
then.
Alexander.
Pardon?
Alexander Photo.
Hello. Could you give me just a few minutes, because I expected that I would
Okay.
answer.
Should we go on to Tiona? Tiona Galashvili.
She just left our session.
Pardon?
She just left our session.
Oh.
Wait a minute.
Hello. May I share my screen? Yes. And do you see the slides? And do you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Good morning, dear colleagues. My name is Alexander Kotov, and I am a lawyer at Denton's law firm. Today, I'm going to present you the paper on e-governance and privacy in pandemic times. So, next slide. First of all, it's obvious that pandemic drives forward the trend of digitalization. And even this conference changed its format, and we talk to each other through Zoom instead of in-person communication. This use of new technologies is inseparable from risks to privacy and personal data, especially when there is one major data controller, such as state, which aim is to fight a pandemic and collect sensitive personal data like biometric, health records, or personal data like location, contacts with the help of digital tools, which can result in collecting too much data, processing data for undeclared purposes, and vulnerability to data leaks or other rights infringements. So in these situations, legal norm, next slide. So in this situation, legal norms that enable the concept of privacy and personal data to function are currently being tested for whether they are really relevant for society and actually applies, or it's just rules on paper like Stalin's constitution. They are being tested for what is known in legal theory as efficacy of the legal norm. Depending on that, we can talk about two scenarios for future development of privacy. In the first scenario, privacy will gradually become irrelevant. For example, Richard Posner in 20th century wrote that most legal norms that protect private data, including health and arrest records, will set aside because it helps the individuals to mislead those with whom he transacts. This position became more relevant nowadays with pandemic because by protecting health data as sensitive personal data, it limits the government's power to control immature people who go to public places when they are sick. In the second scenario, the pandemic will help the Institute of Privacy evolve to a more qualitative level, both by changing government and policies and by new laws that allow people and society to control the areas where digital technologies are being used. So next slide. So let me give me one moment, please. I have some troubles with the connection. Just 1 second. So I'm here, excuse me for a moment. So what I was saying, government can use different tech tools to fight the pandemic. Most common are video cameras and gadgets such as smartphones and wristbands. In privacy context, video cameras may be used to record videos only or also with facial recognition. For example, in China, CCTV cameras with facial recognition are used to control public restrictions, Contrary, in San Francisco and California, facial recognition is temporarily banned for the use of public authorities. Also, cameras used in different forms like drones, like in Russia and UK, or on a police helmet, smart helmets, which you can see on the slide, are used in United Arab Emirates, or as a part of a robot which being used to check identity papers like in Tunisia. You can also see it on the slide. Smartphones are used to control as a control tool by two types of mobile application. First of all, it is contact tracing apps and apps that monitor quarantine compliance. Also, smartphones are used for monitoring of access system with digital passes that require registration. In addition, satellite signals sent by mobile devices can be used to monitor compliance with COVID restrictions, like in Ecuador. Bluetooth tracing wristbands can be used as an additional tool or autonomously. First way is the reaction to individual leaving their smartphones at home before the work. In South Korea, Bahrain, and Hong Kong, app users were required to use wristbands which control their proximity to the smartphone. Second way can be considered as a solution to lessen data collection, as wristbands have more limited predefined options to collect data. The most illustrative practice in terms of privacy is the introduction of mobile apps to fight a pandemic. Governments can choose between contact tracing apps or apps that monitor quarantine compliance. In the first case, people are invited to use the app on a voluntary basis. In the second, they are usually compelled to use mandatory app. European countries like France, Germany, Finland, or Australia are examples of the first approach. The defining factor of the model of introducing the app is the GDPR regulation and position of a supranational regulator, which is European Data Protection Body. In its position, there are a few important things that has been noticed, such as implementation of privacy by design and by default measures. The source code of the app must be publicly available. The use of the app must be voluntarily and with no negative effects for those who decide not to use the app. Also, it was mentioned that users' location data cannot be processed, otherwise it will violate the rule of data minimization. And app must use pseudo-anonymization methods when informing people who were in contact with infected people. Countries like Russia, Qatar, and India can serve as the opposite mandatory example. Here we can see that app can start as a voluntarily, but then the governments create regulation that de facto make it mandatory by limiting the scope of cases when downloading the app can be at the free will of the user. Usually there is no requirement to make the source code of such apps publicly available. It collects location data, and data controllers are enabled to change privacy policy unilaterally. No pseudonymization is required, and personal data stored in centralized manner. For example, in Moscow, Russia, people who were infected and his or her co-livers are obliged to use the app if they plan to stay home. Otherwise, they might be put in hospital. So there is like a predefined answer to the question, what do you want? While quarantine and until the end of the sick leave, they must provide selfies, which must be sent upon the request in 1 hour between 9 a.m. and 10 p.m. If users provide photo or register an app or application show that quarantine restrictions been broken, user automatically get a fine, which he or she can overrule in a court. So therefore, based on data get through the app, users are presumed to violate the rules because app can have bugs that will show that rules been broken, when in reality there was no violation at all. And so the second slide is conclusions and trends. First of all, the use of digital tools in general and the use for governments to fight pandemic is inseparable from privacy and personal data protection issues, which are the cornerstone of all solutions, even if an individual nation's regulation of this area poorly developed. The the Ecuador experience illustrated the most. There is neither comprehensive act on protection of the personal data nor independent data protection body. Given this, a government introduced too many tracking methods to monitor compliance with restrictions. In addition to collection data by app, analyzing data about calls to emergency services, using CCTV system, and data from the telecommunication operators, the government also used satellite data. That was the reason for a lawsuit. In the past year, Constitutional Court of Ecuador handed down the decision that the system is constitutional. Nevertheless, it stated that the rights to privacy and non-discrimination cannot be violated. Therefore, the use of this system must be limited only for those people who are subject to quarantine measures or similar measures. Also, Human Rights Watch organization paid attention to the situation, and in this position said that the scope of data collected through the system must adhere to the criteria of necessity and proportionality. Secondly, current events show how privacy legislation is developed in each country. Countries where privacy is respected by both government and society try very hard on complying with the laws. For example, in Norway, app Smittestop was blocked because it collected location data and failed at anonymization of data and some requirements with consent. Even though less than 10% of Norway used this app, and the usage of this app was on voluntarily basis. Countries where privacy is not respected, the main thing is efficiency. Which can justify violations, like in Russia, where there is a consent for, there's such occasions like consent for generic list of data, like you consent to this data and we can take some more, but we for now just don't know. And so also when the combination of the information about employees' mobile phone number, vehicle license plate number, public transportation, e-payment card, social card number, and monthly travel card can be qualified as non-personal data, because the government wants to get this data without the requirements of data protection laws. Thirdly, regardless of how much the state, society, and individuals respect the need for privacy rights, data protection laws cannot be abandoned because of the threats to human rights. As long as data breaches are unavoidable, mostly because of the human factor. Legal regulation for personal data must be applied, because otherwise compromitation of personal data could lead to the harm to constitutional rights of the citizens, such as identity theft. And considering that no database is safe from breach, requirements related not so much to the technical aspect, but to that data regulation are particularly important. This means following the rules on data minimization, achieving specific predefined and legitimate processing purposes, and destroying data once the processing purpose has been achieved. Following these rules will help to proactively protect data subjects, even when the data leak will occur. It will lessen the damage and will help to lessen the damage. So thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, I would glad to answer it. Do you hear me? Or I'm just talking
Yeah,
to...
Alexandra.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second only.
Yeah.
The presentation was good. The way you have delivered the content was really awesome, and you're having a different approach towards this particular aspect of e-governance and the privacy related stuff, right? So
Yeah.
as a technical person, because I feel that you're a lawyer, right? You are pursuing
Yeah, I'm
law
a
and
lawyer. I'm a lawyer.
you are a lawyer. You are a lawyer, right? So your way of looking that particular thing was perfectly fine. But still, the thing is that this is just, I just want your opinion as a lawyer.
Yeah.
Do not consider it as my question, but as you are a lawyer, so that's why I'm asking you from your perspective. You're supposed to answer this question. Uh, as a technical person, as an engineer, it is a very simple thing for me that there should be privacy while doing the digitalization and all that stuff, right? But from your point of view, rather from my point of view, security is essential. But what are the different things that we can put into that so that we can protect the rights, basic human rights, from this particular digitalization scenario? In this digitalization scenario, what could we give to the humanity? What do you think? What is your perspective? How you
What
think?
we can give to the humanity in
Yeah,
the person of in the question of protection of personal data.
yeah,
In my opinion, the most thing is like digital trust. When the users are not afraid to use some platforms, and they are not afraid of the personal data being compromised and maybe used in some criminal ways, like stealing money from bank accounts, or just spying on them by some I don't know, like problem with superstars, like they have um, how to say, mad fans who follow them everywhere, and every step of them is at the Bristol, they are stalked, as we can say. So it will protect them if we construct the system and take measures that will work proactively on the future, rather than dealing with the leak after it happened.
just one thing I just want to
Yeah.
share with you, rather. This is due to, I mean, everybody knows it. You might have, you are also knowing it, but we know that there are giant IT companies currently in the market, right? So these IT companies are provoking the users to share their personal information every time. So it can
Yeah.
be anything. Are you getting? So in that sense, as a normal human being, you are a lawyer, you know the value of the privacy, right? You know that privacy should be preserved somewhere, right? As a technical person, I also know. But what things can we do for a common people, so that they will also understand, yes, I need to keep something private. This is my personal thing. I should not share it, because it is ultimately going to
I get
hamper,
it.
impact on me.
It's a like dilemma of regulation, or teaching people how to use the internet platforms, and getting them aware of the risk of providing too much data to the internet platforms that has like bad reputation.
Okay, okay. What
Yeah.
else?
What else? What else?
See.
I think
Now
that
60% world's population is using mobile phones, right? 60,
yeah,
70% we can say. We do
yeah,
have internet which is connected to our day-to-day things also. We can say that we have smart glasses, we are having mobile phone, we are having
yeah,
smart TVs also, right? So
yeah.
everywhere digitalization is there. We cannot stop digitalization, but security should
Yeah.
be important.
My point is not to stop digitalization and stop providing data at all. Um, my point is the providing of data and processing of data must be regulated, as it is in European countries, and to a certain extent, rights can be protected, and internet platforms can be, for example, fined for like 50 millions of euro, as I remember last cases. So they can adopt the system to respect the privacy of people, and help them, not to help them, but how to say, collecting too much data for undeclared purposes, for example, can help the internet platform to manipulate the conscience of the people, or if they can give data to third parties without consent and information to the data subjects, this data can be used against them. So let's see.
Conclusion can be, we cannot give 100% protection to the data, but yes, we can apply some.
Yeah, we can try something. Yeah,
we can
yeah.
Rather, we should
we
try
need
something.
to do. Yeah,
And
yeah.
the ultimate conclusion can be, it depends on the person who is using that digital platform, right?
Yeah, but here's one important aspect that most people, like our grandmas, for example, they are not aware to whom and how many data they give to the internet platforms and how it can be used. So there has to be some paternalism to that kind of people, for example.
Thank you, Alexander, for sharing your nice
Thank you
thoughts.
for your questions. It was nice talking to you.
Thanks a lot.
So,
Thank you, Alexander. And our next. Oh. Our next speaker is Stephen Senea. His paper title is Towards a Framework to Address Enterprise Resource Planning Challenges. Stephen?
Hello.
Hi.
Okay. Thanks for the introduction, host. My name is Stephen Kwame Senaya, and I'm presenting this paper on behalf of my co-authors, Professor Van der Poel and Dr. Skuma of University of South Africa. And we are presenting on the topic towards a framework to address ERP challenges. The outline of our paper is as follows, from introduction through to conclusion. ERP systems integrate data from functional departments of organization into single units to facilitate information sharing for business intelligence, among other things, for value proposition. However, over the past years, ERP systems have been characterized with numerous failures, and these have been predominant and evident from research that has been gathered. And we have attributed these system failures mostly in errors that arise in the development of life cycle of these softwares, specifically around the requirement and specification phases of such softwares. The above may be attributed to lack of framework, a definite framework for developing such system correctly. However, numerous scholars in this arena have tried to put together models and theories to address these failures, but succeeded only partially. It is on this base that we ground our research to seek to find if there can be a framework or a model that can gauge the development of correct ERPs. So we synthesize some questions which we seek to find answers to arrive at our solutions. And these are the research questions we put together to guide our study. Methodologically, we collected 8 well-known frameworks between the period of 1980s to 2019. And our focus was to look into the emphasis or the common emphasis that this framework possesses against the challenges, common challenges they also possess. So for the emphasis, we arrive at the common emphasis are listed below. Among some of these are data and information quality, system reliability, organizational benefits, and others. When we consider the challenges, we realize that most of these frameworks also have challenges that are relating to complexity, traceability, hidden information, just to mention a few as listed. Then we further delve into looking into the complex nature of ERPs to be able to determine why these failures occur. And figure 1 is evidence that most of these systems provide models that are integrated into a central database. Now, if you look into the picture, you realize that the figure, you realize that a functional unit, when having to fail or have an error, can affect another unit because all are linked into a common database. Now, further, we try to look at some of these frameworks that were developed by scholars over time in an attempt to solve this issue. And then we arrive at the answer to our research question 1, which says that what framework for evaluating an ERP as an IS are available? Then further, we examine to determine those prominent frameworks that we collected from literature to ascertain 4 of them which we actually use for our work. And these are listed as such from the slide. Then we further link the ERP with IS success model from a paper from our previous work in 2009, which put more emphasis in the areas of complexity, hidden information, reliability, among others. Then we synthesize and summarize the challenges into a table, taking cognizance of their emphasis and challenges. Then we arrive at our answer to our research question for the research question 2, which states that what are the challenges of ERP framework in IS arena? This summary of the challenges and emphasis put together help us to propose a framework to facilitate the development of correct ERPs. Of importance is the introduction of FM as a techniques to solve these menace. So our proposed framework provide answer to our last research question, which says, how may the incorporation of FM into IS or ERP framework assist with the development of correct ERPs? Then what are some of the reasons why we chose to integrate FM into ERP as a strong suggestion to solving the failure problems that are bedeviled with ERP frameworks? First is that it's worth noting that FM uses mathematical notation and logical reasoning to define properties of IS system correctly. This helped us to avoid ambiguity and constraining statement to the properties that are supposed to be taken care of during the development stage. So when we do this, when we integrate FM into developing or as part of the development process of ERP, it will help us to clear ambiguity during the requirement and specification stages, therefore making the statement or the declarations that will be made in developing system very clear to the developers. Now, with the FM style of developing system, the specifier begins with creating the formal specification of the system by defining the desired properties before developing the actual resultant system. It means that if the specifier writes the formal specification, he is able to clear all issues and simulate to be sure that the resultant software or to be developed software will be correct before it's actually taken onto the working board to be developed. So formal method has a very strong determination, ability to elicit all the challenges that may arise at the specification level before the actual software is actually developed. Now, formal specification also offers a very dependable approach for investigating system processes and certifying requirements and testing results, as well as writing instructional documentation for this system. Therefore, it poses a very strong strength when incorporated in developing such ERP system. Now, formal concept is a notation that is understood at the human level before actual development is done. So if a specifier writes a specification with a guide, then it is well understood by the developer at a human level before the actual coding is done to build the application. By so doing, we believe that the errors that will arise from the resultant system will be eliminated or minimized to have achieved a correctness, a great correctness into this system. It is worth noting that the value of FM will produce to have a framework that will deal with ERP issues when it comes to development. Future work in this arena will be look at unpacking the conceptual framework that we provided, and once completed, formal method could be used to attack these framework properties and its links to determine a way to enhance the framework for proper use and acceptance. We also, it is also envisaged that after formal method has been used to attack this framework to get correctness and acceptance or enhancement, we conduct a survey either quantitatively or qualitatively to validate this framework to be used by experts in software engineering fraternity. These are some of the references we use in our work. Thank you very much. Hello?
Thank you,
Hello?
Stephen. Thank you, Stephen. Am I audible?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, okay, give me 1 second only. Yes, Stephen, your presentation was good. The points that we had discussed, that was related to improvement in the ERP system, which is the existing one, right?
Yes.
So in that, the first diagram that you shown to us, give me 1 second only, 1 second, only 1 second. Hello, हाँ मैं फोन कर दो, थोड़ा बिजी है मीटिंग में. हाँ.
Is this the diagram?
So this diagram, right? Here
Yeah.
we discussed about the ERP challenges as well as the success factors, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So it is expected when you design any type of ERP system, when you design any type of software, that time we need to follow the software development life cycle properly. So in that,
Exactly.
requirement analysis is one of the biggest aspect, right?
Yes.
Okay. So here, yeah, I think you have discussed here some section of your presentation that requirement analysis creates a problem during the process of this rather during writing the software of ERP, right? So that
Yes. In
creates a problem.
the requirement and specification stages.
Exactly.
Some of the requirements are unclear to the developers.
Exactly. So we need to gather the requirement. That was your gather the requirement clearly. That you are saying, right? Okay. So, but what I just want to know, you told us that you have studied various types of ERP frameworks, and
Yes.
out of that, 4 frameworks you have shortlisted somewhere, right?
Yes.
Something like that. So can you tell me which framework you like the most in this case and why?
Okay. So let's just go to our table. So if you look at the frameworks and you look at the challenges they possess, and then the framework with the least challenges are the best framework we considered. So if you look at this, it is evidence from our table that the framework from the Mustafa in 2005, it's the best framework.
Okay. And if in the future, if you design the system, so which problems of that framework you will try to what we can say remove?
So please come again.
If you try to develop the ERP framework in the future, right? So which things of this framework you didn't like and you want to remove those things to develop a good system?
Okay, so what we actually did was that you realize that in the ERP space or the IS space, the DNM, the Dion and McLean framework is often mentioned or pointed to when it comes to IS. So these frameworks have certain challenges, but they also possess certain strengths. So we did not revise the people's framework, but we pick components that we think can help build a successful framework, and also look at certain things that we can introduce into a new framework to be able to solve or deal with these challenges that the framework possesses. So we pick those various components in terms of strengths and challenges, and we out of this we developed our framework. We actually adopted as a business model canvas for our work. So we are able to determine, okay, what are the strengths of this framework and what are its weaknesses, and what are some of the things that the framework can help achieve aside its challenges. So when we study those things critically, then we pick certain component parts. We pick certain component parts from each end each of these frameworks, and we put it together, and we realized that looking at the challenges and the strength, when we introduce formal method, it could actually help solve these challenges, whereby giving us the opportunity to develop these correct ERP, because ERPs are eventually becoming an integral part of organizational system, and its failure is causing huge return on investment, from education to health to critical mission system to air reservation system and all those areas. The failure is causing huge return on investment and huge damage, sometimes leading to death. So we want to make sure that when systems are developed, they are developed right with the right methodology. And one of the software that we look into is to consider ERP, because we look at ERP as a critical software system.
Yes, surely. We need to look at it very seriously. That is very essential part of any organization. And as you said rightly, that it may result into financial losses and in the human losses also sometimes, due to frustrations and tensions if the ERP system gets built. So it may cost a lot in that sense. Anyways, I mean, your presentation was good. You delivered the content in proper way. No issues. And wishing you all the best for the further ERP development that you are planning in the future. So hope that you will come up with a good ERP system very soon and people will use it extensively. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Nurul Kamaluddin. Nurul. Nurul.
Not available right now.
Okay.
Our last present.
Should I move on?
Yeah, you can ahead with Fiona.
Then our next speaker will be Tiona.
Hello, please
Can
you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Great, thank you. Shall I start sharing my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay, can you see it?
Yeah.
Great, thank you so much. As you might have already heard, I'm Teona Gelashvili. I'm a PhD student and a junior researcher in Tallinn University of Technology. And today I'd like to present our paper, which is about the maturity model for automatization of service provision and decision-making processes in municipalities. And I'll be discussing the case of Estonia. So before presenting the maturity model itself, I'd like to briefly introduce you to why would be even interested to research this area. We would here focus on the importance of the paperless management and the automatization of the service provision and decision-making processes as an integral part of developing e-government for the country. And having the maturity model that will help us understand where do we stand, what are the processes we are handling, and how to move forward, we thought that it would be very important here. I'll very briefly introduce you to how we came up with the model and what was the development process. So it all started in 2004 with the development of Amphora. Amphora is the electronic documents and records management systems that has been created by the authors of this paper, and later it has been also deployed in the Estonian municipalities. So it happened almost 20 years ago, and throughout the process, the gathering of empirical data was crucial. So they have been a plethora of research and the workshops and the interviews among not only the people who are experts in this field, but also the stakeholders at different levels, including the users of the system as well. But together with the empirical data, a very crucial part here has been to collect the information of what are the maturity models that has been deployed in different domains. And we started to investigate the deployment of different maturity models in information governance, in IT service management, enterprise content management. And what we have realized is that even though the importance or the aspects maturity models focus on in these areas might vary, this big goal behind them is more or less similar. So the aim of the maturity model is to define what is the evolution path of certain artifact or the process within the organization. And it can be displayed either bottom-up or top-down approach. And usually, in most cases, the maturity model would have 5 different levels going upwards. And last but not least, equally important was the action design research, of course, which has helped us to overcome 2 of the most important challenges throughout the process. The first challenge was to understand what was the problem within the context of the organization, and later on to develop the construct certain IT artifact that will help us to mitigate the discovered difficulty. So it was an ongoing process, and what we have realized throughout the process is that there are 3 major leading processes happening through electronic documents records management systems to be highlighted. These are the correspondence handling, and the later one was to understand how are the decisions made, so decision-making processes and the rule-making processes. So what we tried is to focus, including these 3 important processes in development of the maturity model. So I'll very briefly introduce you to model here now, and we can maybe go through the phases one by one briefly. I'll be using laser pointer for that. So the first phase we named as the paper original, paper copy level. What happens here is the information in the organization is unstructured, and the information carrier is the paper only. What we mean by that is the information, the document that has been exchanged is only on the paper, and even the citizens, when they would send their documents or the applications, they are carried out only on the paper. The decisions are made by humans only, and usually takes weeks or maybe even a month to get to the point when the decision is finally made. But the crucial aspect here is that because the documents are being carried around, there are cases when they might even get lost, or because the workflow is paper-based, it takes a lot of time to process information. If the organization manages to move on the second level, we call it the paper original digital copy level, information mode is still unstructured. Nevertheless, we already have the occurrence of a digital document. And what we mean by that is, for example, if the citizen would apply for a certain service on the paper, we would digitize the document, scan it, and then later start processing the document in the EDRMSs. The decisions are still made by humans, and it takes days. So because we have this virtual workflow going on already, it makes decisions making time a lot shorter. The next level will be already when the information mode, even though still remains to be unstructured, the priority is on the digital copy. And we have the occurrence of the digital signature at this level already. So what we mean by that is, for example, the digital signature is used to make and announce a certain decision. And most of the workflows are being carried out using digital format through the EDRMSs, electronic documents records management systems. The decisions are still made by humans, and because there is this virtual workflow going on, it might take just days or even a few hours to make a decision. The fourth stage is already when data information mode becomes to be structured, and we have already only digital documents. But still, at this area, there might still be some papers coming from the external organizations or maybe from different countries where we don't have this digital exchange of the information. But still, even though the humans might be making decisions, we already could have some processes automated. So AI inclusion already starts from the first page. And almost the decisions are made in real time. On the fifth level, we have the data and AI, where the information mode is structured and the information carrier is digital. But here is this big step when decisions are made by AI, and the role of the human is to check whether the decisions that have been made by AI are correct and precise. And the decision making is not just a real time, but it also is enabling us to provide the proactive services. But of course, it is the future work, and to get there is quite difficult. And that leads me to the next stage, when I would like to maybe briefly discuss what are the possible shortcomings related to advancing to the next levels. Well, first of all, it takes a lot of technical equipment, and therefore it leads to financial costs. So having it, for example, if we want to transition from the first stage to the second stage, we need to start scanning the documents. So it already leads us to having certain technology ready for that. And then if we move to the structured data, and still we are having some unstructured data, so we have to be able to handle those both formats. And these all requires not only the technical part, but also the huge investments. And on top of that, it also comes down to legal aspects, when even though we already have incorporated AI on the last stage, so AI needs to have this machine readable data, but having the legislation that is being machine readable, it is rather difficult to achieve. And here, last but not least, is this human aspect, because it not only is that change management that should happen on once transitioning to the next levels, but also to understand whether would people trust the decision made by AI. And at the same time, because AI would not have this human factor, then maybe this decision making or the decisions made by AI would not be rather ethical in that sense. So we might have the cases when AI becomes discriminating towards certain groups. And when it comes to the next, the future steps, this is the model that I just represented. This is the first cycle from the development, when we have constructed this theoretical and unvalidated prototype of the maturity model. But then the next step is to already pilot this model in the 5 Estonian municipalities and gather the data of what should be adjusted, what should be polished. And the third cycle already will be to deploy the model across the country. And after having deployed the model, then it will also help us to understand what are the maturity levels of the municipalities in Estonia and how to move forward. But of course, the model itself can be scalable, and it can be applied to different cases based on the organizational needs. This was a very brief overview of the paper, and I hope that I conveyed the message of what the paper is about. And if you would like to go more into details, then I would encourage you to hopefully see the paper once it gets published. And thank you very much for your attention, and I'll be happy to answer to your questions if you have any.
Thank you, Tiona. So I hope, due to some pronunciation issues, okay, I could hear your presentation properly, but due to some pronunciation issues were there, so I could not get the entire thing. But okay, I come to know that you are developing a maturity model, and that maturity model will take the decisions, right? We can say that decisions, and will do some automation in your municipality related work, or rather your country related work, if I'm correct, right?
Yes.
So you're thinking to make use of artificial intelligence into that?
Yes, that would be the end goal of, yes, to have it AI involvement in the decision-making processes, yes.
Okay, so normally when we deal with a lot of information, that time we are not supposed to take some decisions based on that particular information, correct? And the thing is that it is not necessary that we will get always structured type of data. As humans are very intelligent, to handle the unstructured data, but right now systems are not trained to that level. We need to make our systems intelligent, right? So what is your plan? How you are going to tackle this issue using the machine intelligence? How you are going to do something innovative? What innovation you are going to contribute in that way? I just want to ask you, can you brief about it in small time?
Yes, thank you very much for the question. And yes, as I said, this maturity model, what we mean here is that there is this transition from the first to second to third to fourth and the fifth level. So what we are hoping to do here is that once the organization transforms from the first to second level, it increases and it changes. So that's why we have this change management, and we are more or less training the people to understand, and also helping this AI from the initial stage to understand the process is better. But of course, it will be with a lot of shortcomings, a lot of challenges. But yeah, I guess the trial will be the best here to describe. So that we should try to involve the stakeholders, so that we would keep progressing and polishing and advancing the model.
Okay, thank you, Tiana. Hope that you will do all your stuff and your PhD successfully, properly. All the best.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Now we'll just get to our closing remark. Let me... I sincerely want to thank our authors for their excellent presentation in this session, and all our participants for being part of this International Congress. I hope this session was informative and knowledgeable as well. All their presenters will be getting their digital certificates through the mail within 2 working days. Further, all papers have already been forwarded to the Springer. The publication will be live within 4 to 6 months. Kindly cooperate with the team of ICICT 2021 as when it has been initiated. I would like to also thank the chair of our session, Dr. Amal Doon, for coming in on short notice for chairing the session. Thank you for your valuable presence, sir. Just quickly, I kindly request all participants to turn on their cameras for a quick snapshot of the virtual conference, if that's okay. Yeah. Thank you. And thank you all. Have a good day to you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. All the participants, all the best for your future research and for your studies. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Many thanks. It was a pleasure to meet you.
You too. Thank you.
Nice meeting you all too.